Okay, time to get this thing back. Let me strapping a pair on, putting on my big boy pants, getting on a big boy bike. D, C, D. Well, let's just go for the full power, full beans A. Perfect day, perfect bike. It really is. I know that because it wins lots and lots of awards. Now, does A mode make it any more lively? Yep. Now, there are so many different electronic gizmos on this thing and variations that I can go into that it would take a whole day of testing on its own. So I won't. I apologise for that, but I have tried the riding modes. That's the very least that I could do. Oh, Molly. The suspension is firm in the setting that I'm in, which is A2. You'd be hard pushed to find something to beat you on the road. If someone pulls up alongside you in their Porsche, nope. You'd be wheeling into fifth gear, but you'd beat them. Holy Moses. Yo, some bikes I test because I feel like I should, and some bikes I test just because I want to. And the MT10 absolutely falls in that second category. So let's get the obligatories out of the way. Let's round up a few of the statistics for this bike. So we get the same liquid-cooled cross-plane 4-cylinder engine from the R1, differently tuned to make a little bit more torque and horsepower, lower down the rev range. Yes, it does shoot off. And yes, it does get keener the more you hold on. That is very smooth. It develops, as I'm sure you're aware, around 160 horsepower, PS rather than brake horsepower, but horsepower. Ponies, nays. It develops 169 at 10,500 revs. Between 81 and 82 foot-pounds of torque, developed at 9,000 revs. Torquey, punchy, powerful. I am a big fan of this engine. I like it as much as I thought I would. There is one downside to this bike, and that's that I'm going to have to master the blur tool. Don't look at this. Don't look at that. Imagine that's not there. It's in kilometers. Sounds glorious as well. It's got this really nice kind of metallic rattle to it almost. That probably isn't selling it well enough. Do you know what? Listen to it. That coupling, a Yamaha 4-cylinder and a Kropovic exhaust. Tasty. Sorry guys, I had to. It's super duper light, as I'm sure you are aware. It's 210 kilograms, and that is full to the brim. Brimming. Front brake, we have two 320mm discs and 4-piston radial mounted calipers, non-braided hoses. A lot of people do complain about these brakes being less powerful than its rivals, and I'd agree with that, but I would say that they're perfectly adequate. I would want more feel, and I think you can get that through braided hoses, maybe some better pads as well. But I had no real issue with the brakes myself. Wheelbase 1,400mm and seat height 825mm. Loads of legroom, loads of comfort. The one thing I would say is that I tend to ride on the balls of my feet and my toes. I feel like it makes me a bit sporty. It's just where I'm now comfortable riding. I think I learned it from my dad, in actual fact. I love hearing that. But with a quick shifter, and with this gear shifter in particular, you have to slide your feet further forward. And I found actually that I had to practically move my entire leg to change gears, and then I realised that it was just because my riding position is a bit odd. So I moved my feet slightly further forward, and then that quick shifter really came into its own. And it's also worth noting that that comes as standard on all the MT10s in the range. Second gear will do me nicely. Oh, new. I'll bounce you out of the seat. The actual proportions and the way this bike is set up is so comfortable and so intuitive that you get on it and you can just ride, you can point it in a direction and it will go. It's really flexible, it's really quick to change direction, but without sacrificing anything as far as stability goes. You may be aware, you may not, it's got a shorter wheelbase than the MT09. Weirdly enough, and this isn't true of it, but it felt shorter. It's actually 5mm taller, so I'm told via their specs, but I definitely felt that the MT10 was a smaller bike. Not in terms of the engine or the power, obviously, but in terms of the frame and the way I felt on it, it just felt more manageable. It felt more confidence inspiring going into a corner. It felt stiffer. Don't take for granted that they will feel the same or similar. And certainly don't take for granted that the MT10 is just a bigger bike. I think it just went on the M1. Absolutely did. Well, you know what? That's good for one thing and one thing only. Seeing what this thing's capable of. Let's find out. Capable of astronomical speed. That's cruise control. If you're going at speed and you're doing long mileage, I'd quite like that. Probably more useful on the touring edition. I know I said I want a through draft, but I think I'm going to have to get a draft excluder. That has done me in. Got the shivers now. Not ideal. I should address the differences obviously between the standard MT10 and the SP version. There's only really three big ones. So the first one is of course the colour display now over the standard monochromatic version. The second difference is that you now get semi-active Öhlins suspension, which is very trick and it wins you bragging rights. I can't really tell you what the difference is between them as far as feel goes. I haven't tried the standard version, I've only tried the SP. It is on the stiffer sides, but it won't rattle your bones too much. You get 2 preset settings and then 3 that you can adjust yourself. I just had it in the second setting, which is the softer of the 2, but even that felt quite firm. I didn't change it because of course I wouldn't get time on a test day. And the third difference is just that it looks different. That doesn't really add any value, obviously, it's just whether or not you think it looks better. I'm not going to tell you which one's better. I'm not going to tell you which one you should buy. All I'll tell you is that the difference between them is roughly about £2,700. So if you think the colour screen and the Öhlins semi-active suspension is worth £2,700, then there's your answer. Buy the SP. Hey, what do you reckon? Do you like it? No, not a titter. Not making the impression that I would want it to for £14,000. Everyone look at me, I've just spent £14,000. Something else I'd like to pick up on is the seat that irritates me, because the little nipple on the top of it. Oh, what in the hell is that? That is a design afterthought. That is someone going to the board meeting. What have we got for us, Jeff? Well, actually, I've been working on the seat and we were talking about the fact that this bike is super powerful and that you might fly off the back when you wheelie. We'll remember that? Cool. I have come up with this. What are you calling that, Jeff? Seat nubbin. It's a blob. Seat blob. Bum blob. Bum blob? Great. Okay, so you're going to stitch it into the fabric? No, we're going to stick it on like a couch cushion. What is the point? No, I'm not buying that. You have to have really long legs to need that little hump in the middle. previous to the MT10, of course, the fastest thing I'd ridden was the Kawasaki Z900. And that thing has around 120 brake horsepower. So I approached the MT10 with a healthy level of respect. I didn't want to take the piss because I didn't want to fly off the back. Happy to report I'm still here. And I'm even more happy to report that the bike takes care of that for you. Because although this thing is an absolute beast, it's not aggressive, it's not brutal. A lot of that is down to the rider modes and how well they perform. It has 4, A, B, C, D. D is the softest and most mild-mannered of all of those. Used mainly in very low traction if it's going to be really wet, really dusty. I rode for the first part of my test in C mode, just to get used to it, just to cut my teeth. And then I opened it up and stuck it in A. Now in C mode, the thing that was most satisfying is that the throttle response was very smooth.
The good thing about the throttle response is that they have dulled it off a little bit within the first few mil of a turn. Which means that to go fast, you really do have to mean it.
If you want to shoot off a set of lights and you really want to drop that power, then you opt into it voluntarily. You know exactly what you're doing because there is enough leeway in that throttle body that you have to roll on a certain amount to get it to really kick into overdrive. Then you stick it in A mode, and obviously it's just a little bit more immediate. Blink and you're at 60. Well, blink for 3.3 something seconds. Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Don't do that. I mean, keep alert.
If you own this thing, and in 12 months you haven't got a single point on your license from speeding, then you have better self-control than I do.
The other thing I should say about the throttle response and the engine working well in the town actually is that it's so smooth and it is so unassuming when you're just cruising around at low speed. I was aware that it was there. I was aware that it was a sleeping giant, but I didn't feel frustrated riding through a town. Now let me just clarify though, this bike can be somewhat frustrating, and not because it's not capable, not because it is not a fantastic machine. It's frustrating because I know if I owned an MT10 standard or an SP, I would never fully get the best out of that bike. Never.
I am not going to get even a tenth of the potential out of this thing. Both rider and roads are not going to get the most out of this bike. It's fun to dabble, but all this is really going to do for me is make me envious of everyone that's bought one. And if you have it, promise me one thing. Promise me you're getting the most out of it.
Now they gave me a form to fill in from Yamaha, as they tend to do, for feedback on what was good about the bike, what to improve. Well, it's aptly named. Let's just put it that way, because I went 10 the whole way down that score. Boom, 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 boom. I couldn't pick a flaw with it. Genuinely. It was nitpicking. It was switch gear. It was seat. Stuff like that. Brakes, because I'd been told that by other people. But really, it was nitpicking. If this sounds like hyperbole and fanboying, well, test it. Ride it yourself and then tell me that it is not very nearly the perfect bike.
I feel like a lot of reviews, people just sort of watch to confirm that they've made the right choice, and if you have this bike, you absolutely have. What a bike.
With all of that said, thank you very much for watching. Obviously, if you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. You know where to put them. Likewise, if you want to subscribe and see some more content from my channel, Rarefied Road, say it with me now, Rarefied Road, not Rarefield, not rarefied, rarefied. Hit the subscribe button, it's just down there somewhere. Here, thanks for watching, I'll catch you soon. I'm sure you're aware that I'm friends with Guy Martin, I talk about it all the time. And again, I managed to grab an exclusive, his impressions of the Yamaha MT10.
So I've been set another task to review the Yamaha MT10 SP. So it's the trick one, It's one with the better suspension and better colour screen and a big colour display over there as well. So nice little bells and whistles, distractions. If I was choosing one word quickly to describe it, I'd go with faff. Two reasons. There's a lot of trickery on here. You know, the screens and the buttons and the rider modes, all this gubbins. It's I don't need it. Just need a set of keys, engine, and you're off. Start the engine, go. But the other reason is that this thing is seriously quick. So I call it faff because it is fast as fuck.